Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today let's talk about all the hate. It's a BMW, but it's a BMW, but it's a BMW. Shut up. Just joking, you guys can have that opinion. It is a BMW, but let's talk about why it's not a big deal and why you guys are just being too crazy on it. But first, let's have some fun. Baby, oh baby. All right, so as you guys know, BMW, Toyota, they partnered on this car. Is this car more BMW than Toyota? Yes, it is. Absolutely is. And people can make the argument, well, Toyota beefed up the B58 motor. They took all of the things that aren't reliable in a BMW and made it more reliable, more robust. They scrutinized it. Whatever side of the argument you sit on, that's totally fine. I'm not gonna dive into exactly what Toyota touched, what they didn't touch, because I think some of it's true, some of it's not true. But let's just kind of back up a little bit. Let's look at the Mk5 Supra. The Mk5 Supra was iconic, and it was iconic because of the 2JZ motor. Sorry guys, we gotta have a little bit more fun. Ooh, Nelly Furtado. So the 2JZ motor in the Mk5 Supra is iconic, and the reason it's iconic because it was one of the most tunable, robust engines ever made. Plain and simple. People can make 1,000 horsepower in those Supras and they do just fine. And that is something that made the Supra iconic. It was the looks, it was obviously turbocharged. Fast and Furious played a big role, a huge role, in making that car be more popular. Fun fact for you guys, the Supra almost didn't make it into Fast and Furious. It was going to be a 3000 GT VR4, and it was going to be that because it was an iconic car. The Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4 was super iconic, but they wanted a roof that would come off, and the Supra accomplished that. So think of how those tables could have turned on popularity. But realistically, when the Supra came out, it was extremely expensive. A turbocharged Supra, it was almost unattainable. Now there's, you know, versions that don't have the turbo and everything else, but the Supra, what made it so iconic was that it was a super cool looking car. It was a turbocharged car. It, you know, was very analog, very driver centric. It was amazing from that standpoint, and people absolutely loved it. But what has stood the test of time is the 2JZ motor, and just how successful that motor has been and how long it has just stood up to the test of time, and it was Toyota reliability. Now you move over to the Mk5 Supra. It's a B58 BMW motor. So let's talk a little bit about BMW. BMW gets a lot of love and they get a lot of hate. So let's acknowledge BMW for what it is. BMW makes performance cars. BMW, they underrate their horsepower. Their motors are impressive. They are. They're performance driven. They get a lot more out of their cars, horsepower wise, than what some of the manufacturers do V8 wise. A lot of direct injection, a lot of just fun cars to drive. And what's amazing about BMW too at the same time is they also can be extremely expensive to fix. They can be unreliable depending on who you talk to. And it also depends on so many different things. Year of the car, maintenance of the car. You know, I have a Mazda RX-8 and people hate on that car and say it was one of the most unreliable cars ever built. And it's been solid for me. It's given me no issues over several thousand miles. So BMW, for what it is, they make performance motors, cars, whatever it might be. The reality is for Toyota and BMW to partner, I actually think it was a perfect partnership. Now, for Toyota to build a 3JZ engine or whatever that would have been named, you don't even know if that would have been able to pass emissions. For Toyota to put all of the R&D dollars into the Supra, it would have made the car astronomically higher. Astronomically, 70, 80, 90, $100,000 type car, and it just wouldn't sell. It just wouldn't sell. It'd be too expensive. Now, you could argue that, well, if they would have put a 3JZ, I would have paid 80 grand for it, 90 grand, 100 grand. I would have paid Hellcat money. But guys, the technology from 10, 20, 30 years ago, they all can't be used today in today's cars due to emission standards, due to everything. But to R&D a car from the ground up, it is really expensive, and it's why a lot of manufacturers just kind of make small tweaks and adjustments to their cars. So BMW had a car, you know, and they brought the Supra nameplate back, which is one of the, if not the most iconic, legendary names in car history, Supra. It's amazing. The script looks good. They added it to the car. But where a lot of people knock this car is they want it to have Toyota reliability. They don't like that it's got fake vents. Now, the fake vent argument, guys, in my opinion, is so dumb. Can you argue or make a case for me that vents on a car actually, you can notice a difference in the performance? Sure, maybe the brakes cool down faster. Sure, maybe your IATs are lower. But at the end of the day, guys, it's looks, and looks are subjective. I think this car does a very good job carrying the torch of looks from the Mark 4 Supra to the Mark 5. It gets your attention. It stands out. The wing on the Supra is a big wing. The wing gain. Huge, huge wing. And I think it's really iconic. It got your attention. The styling on this car, I feel, resembles those same cues. Now back to the BMW argument. Because they partnered together, they were able to bring this car to the marketplace. Guys, there's a lot of cars that never get brought out from manufacturers because it's just too expensive to do. They have a concept, they have an idea, but the reality is it's what the market wants, it's what it costs to bring it to the market. There's a lot of moving pieces into this. You see Toyota partnering with Subaru, you know, on the GR86. You're seeing a lot more partnerships. Ford and Chevy, they share the same 10-speed automatic transmission in the Camaro and in the Mustang. And people want to argue, oh, Ford versus Chevy. Sure, the motors are different, but the transmissions are the same, and they share them together. I actually believe it's more of a Chevy transmission that Ford uses, but let's just say they partner together. I'm not going to dive into that because I don't know too much about the details of it, but they do share those same parts. Some of the best companies and the best brands in the world today share a technology. It's bringing the best of the best. So when you look at the Supra and what it was tunable. The Mark 4 Supra was tunable. The B58 engine in this Supra, you can make astronomical amounts of horsepower with minor changes. You put a downpipe and a tune on this car, and you can easily push another 100 horsepower out of this engine. 100 horsepower is a lot, because this car is already pushing close to 400 horsepower at the wheels, if not right around there or above that. And you get another 100 horsepower out of this car is scary. It is already kind of scary right now because it's hard to find enough road to be able to, you know, go all the speeds that you want to. I mean, it is fun. Woo-hoo-hoo. So the BMW motor, so what Toyota did is they said, okay, what did people like about the Supra? It was iconic in its looks, and the motor was extremely modifiable. It was a tuner's car. In my opinion, they checked both of those boxes on this car. And because the partnership with BMW happened, this car is here. Without it, I don't think the Supra comes back. I don't. And who knows, maybe Toyota would have put a different motor in it, but it might not have been what all of you would want from what the 2JZ was. So BMW motors are modifiable. Now, the one thing that is very questionable is how long will this motor hold up and how will reliability be? Some of these engines have had issues. So in this car, you don't have your standard, hey, dipstick to measure oil. A lot of these cars there have already been several engines that have been replaced in these cars because they're starving themselves of oil, or after a couple thousand miles, these cars need oil, and it's actually scored some of the cylinder walls. And Toyota's had to replace some of the motors, or BMW, whoever you want, has had to replace motors in these. Now, it seems like to me that they had these issues when they bumped up the horsepower from like the 350, 360 range, or 340, I can't remember the first model was, to the 382. And you know, they've had some issues with it, but almost every car that you look at now, they have issues with it. So in terms of reliability, in terms of how the B58 will hold up, the B58's been around for a long time. It's an inline-6 motor. This has a single turbo on it, twin scroll. It's very responsive. It's very snappy, very minimal turbo lag. It is great. And I think, in my opinion, the partnership with Toyota and BMW makes tons of sense. But let's step back for a second. Let's step back and go, okay, Audi and BMW, I put them on the exact same standard. I think they're very, very similar. You know, very modifiable engines, turbocharged, crank a lot out of them. They can be reliable, they can be unreliable. It's just kind of hit or miss on some of it. So, okay, Audi, that's basically the same as BMW. What if they would have partnered with a company like Dodge or Chevy or Ford? For Toyota, I don't think that would have been a good brand decision to do that, because, you know, some of Ford's, you know, maybe EcoBoost motors are already doing it in the Mustang. It wouldn't be able to, I think, you know, get that level of achievement. The German auto manufacturers have really developed robust V6 motors with turbochargers or superchargers that surpass or keep up with what some of these V8s can do. And that is what, you know, that is appealing. So, you know, at the end of the day, some could argue this is a failure, but when you really peel back the onion and you look at what the Supra was, a modifiable tuner's car that turned heads and got a lot of attention, this car checks off both of those boxes. So you guys can hate all you want on BMW, or, oh, but it's a BMW though. Yeah, BMW makes some pretty badass performance cars. And if you get it under warranty, that makes it even better. And will it last the test of time? Some would argue the B58's robust, it's been around for a long time and it'll do great. And then others will say, no, it's not. They leak oil, stuff breaks, whatever. But I've heard arguments for both sides of it, and you need to thank BMW, because without BMW you wouldn't have this car. And you need to really take a look back at what the Mark IV Supra was, and they check the boxes. You might not like the styling, but guys, styling is so subjective. It really is. It's like somebody that you date. Who you might think is cute or beautiful or whatever, the next person won't. And so there's always going to be people who love or hate cars, but this car gets attention. It turns heads. It makes it gets all the attention that you want. It is modifiable, it is tunable, it is fast, it is fun, and with some tunes on it, go look up some YouTubers of what they've done with minimal modifications on this car, because they have been able to get a lot out of this car. I mean, it is a blast to drive. I would argue that it handles a lot better than a Mark IV Supra, even though I haven't drove one. But with today's technology, this car, I think you get it around a track and it's gonna outshine a Mark IV. Now, I love a Mark IV Supra. The prices have skyrocketed. It's thanks to Fast and Furious. It's thanks to the 2JZ motor. It's modifiable, it's tunable. The JDM scene really took off after Fast and the Furious, and prices have skyrocketed. It's hard to find a Mark IV Supra with under 100,000 miles, under $70,000, $80,000. It's really hard to. Now, if it doesn't have a turbo, or if it's just kind of more of their stock V6 engine, it's doable. You know, some people hated on the Supra that they came out with a 204 cylinder model. I actually think the 204 cylinder model could be a lot of fun in a manual transmission. The V6, I'm sure, is a blast in a manual transmission. But I think as you look at the history, it's really hard to find a Mark IV Supra. if you want that name badge and you can get over the BMW thing, that partnership needed to happen for this car to come onto the marketplace. And Toyota, due to emissions, due to costs, the car would have been astronomically high, and maybe never would even have made it to production. Wouldn't have lived up to the 2JZ hype. That's a tough bar to live up to. And could Toyota have built a motor that would have been as robust and as stout as a 2JZ to be able to be tunable and to modifiable and to raise it another level? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Maybe they could have. But I'm grateful for the BMW partnership. You guys can hate on it all you want, but it's a BMW, but it's a Toyota. Guys, you are living under a rock if you don't think other companies are partnering with other companies to provide products and services to consumers. It's just packaged a certain way, and you guys sometimes don't even know that certain manufacturers are making certain parts of the car. I'm Austin, this has Gone at 60. I've enjoyed my Supra. This road enjoys the Supra. Woo! Man. And I hope you guys have a great day. I hope I make some good points. If I don't, let me know. Let me know what I'm missing. Let me know what's controversial. Let me know what I'm wrong on. Am I right? Is it a big deal? Are we making, you know, too much out of this? Should we appreciate it more? Let me know, what should have Toyota have done differently? Should they never came out to market? Should they have tried to develop it? Let me know your comments below, because this is a hot topic, but that is my opinion on the matter, and I'm grateful that this partnership happened, and I'm grateful that we have this car. Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.